I'm joined by Rodney Habib, the co-author of The Forever Dog, plus so much more. But you're going to hear all about that on this series of Pooches at Play. Today, though, we've got some questions for you from some of our followers and viewers who some have read the book. And this is a very interesting question and a very good one. Has the Forever Dog, or how has it been received from the pet food industry? And has there been major challenges with corporations and industry trying to discredit the research?
You know, surprisingly, you put a book like that out, you kind of sit back and you wait and you're going to watch if hand grenades come flying from the sky. But it actually went very well. Look, when we put this book together, it was really important for us. We didn't want to attack anybody. We didn't want to attack any philosophies. We understand where people are at. So we wanted it to be not only a very PC book, but we tried to make it inspirational because we really want to inspire the pet food industry to be better. Yes. We don't want to come in with our pitchforks and say, you have to do it this way. We kind of want to show them, this is how we feel as pet parents, and this is what we would like from you, our manufacturer. And I'm not taking credit for this. It just happens to be coincidental timing, but the largest pet food manufacturer of ultra-processed food in the entire world, just for $1 billion, bought a fresh food company. So
wonderful.
I'd like to think maybe the Forever Dog had something to do with it. I doubt it, but I'd like to think.
Yeah, no, that is great. And I think, it's so important that a lot of those companies do recognize this message and, hopefully it does prompt them to add and change their recipes a little bit as well.
Well, let me say this too, Lara. Like when we went to the world's top longevity scientists here, we went to Nobel Prize winning scientists. We went to Harvard University as an example, Dr. David Sinclair, according to Time Magazine, 100 of the most important people on the planet. Like we were like, who are these top longevity scientists that we can go to get answers from? So it'd be pretty hard to challenge some of these people. I'm sure there might be some people out there, but we really wanted the best of the best to sort of decode these long-lived dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. Which most of them, some of the longest are from here in Australia, aren't they?
Isn't it unbelievable? You guys have set the record multiple times for the oldest, number 1 and number 2 oldest lived dogs in the world, Maggie and Bluey. But you guys also had a dog named Chilla, who never made it into the Guinness World Book of Records, but anecdotally lived to be 34 years old, from Australia.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. All those cattle dogs out there living on fresh and running around, things that all our dogs should be doing. Now, this is a bit of a tricky one. So if raw food is the gold standard of pet food, why do some pre-made raw food companies add so many vitamins and minerals?
Now, this is a really good question, and it's a loaded question at the same time. So, of course, everybody wants to get all of the nutrition from whole foods. Who wouldn't, right? Nobody wants to be dealing with synthetics. Some of the challenges, though, Lara, that some of these manufacturers face in specific countries around the world is cost. Raw foods, fresh foods can get extremely expensive when you try to avoid the synthetic barrier, which I have no problems with. I would love to be able to feed my fresh whole foods. But if you look at like some countries, like as an example, in the United States of America, compared to Australia, the average pet parent in the United States spends $22 a month on pet food. Now, that's not a lot of money.
No.
Compare that in the same US dollar to Australians who are spending around $70 US a month. There's a big gap there. So the manufacturers sometimes, when they're trying to make ends meet, yes, they have to sometimes rely on synthetics. Of course, I'll say it again, we'd all love whole foods, but there are challenges to manufacturing, like vitamin E, for instance. It is really difficult to freeze vitamin E. In fact, when some of these AFCO, the American Association of Feed Control officials, if they ever do test a bag of raw food, sometimes during the freezing process, it can be lost, which forces manufacturers to have to go and get supplements to be able to put it in there to meet the standards, if you may. So those are your kind of your ins and your outs, a very short answer to a very long-winded debate.
Yes, it sure is as well. And, and they are minimum standards as well, aren't they? And there's a lot of variation there as well. So what would you suggest people look for then in their food primarily overall, and then what to look for in a fresh, we say raw here in Australia, manufacturer?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a very good question, and this is a very long-winded question. So, I mean, so every country has different, let's say, minimum standards. Here in Canada, it's the Wild West. We don't have standards, meaning
same
any
here.
manufacturer can put out a brand of pet food and say it's balanced. And you can't challenge them. There's nobody to actually validate that. So although minimum standards are very minimal, you'd be surprised here in my country how many of our raw food manufacturers can't even meet minimum standards. So that's where it can get scary. So a conversation with a manufacturer, one of my favorite conversations would be, hey, have you done an analysis on your food? And can you show me your analysis compared to standards? Show me that you can at least meet the minimum standards, right? Like, don't tell me on your labels and your marketing labels that you're like, sure, it came from the Himalayan mountains where some old man was like chopping all of these magical organic vegetables.
Natural, organic. Yeah.
Right? Exactly, right? But show me that they can meet those standards. Secondly, if you're not feeding, let's say, these type of fresh foods, right? And I get it. There's some people that can't afford it. One of the other questions that you really want to ask your manufacturer, there's lots, but a big question that a lot of people don't think about is the processing techniques, right?
Yes.
Because you can get the best ingredients in the entire world. That's important. Sourcing is very important, right? Going out, trying to find local, grass-fed, sustainable, humanely raised, and so on and so forth. These are all important things. But if you process the life out of it, if you totally obliterate it and you turn it into mush and then you have to force it through a dye machine and cut it into, let's say, like little balls. Well, that term is called ultra processed food. The greatest ingredients in the world are no longer the greatest ingredients in the world because you've changed the chemical structure of those ingredients. So processing techniques are very important and a really big question that a lot of pet parents don't think about asking.
Yeah, that's right. And finding out, you not only what's in there, how is it processed, how is it preserved, how does it come to me, and the nutritional value.
Preservatives are really scary, right? I mean, look, you have to make pet food shelf stable. So the struggle for a pet food manufacturer is, how do I put it on the shelf and it not mold and go rotten on me? So they're out there and everyone's trying to find that natural preservative, but unfortunately there is no magic bullet. So some of these manufacturers are forced to put 5, 6, 7 different preservatives, and a lot of these preservatives are banned up here in Canada for human consumption.
Yeah, absolutely. So, freezing, do you support freezing as a great way as well of preserving those when it's straight into the line?
Yeah, when we broke this down, if you actually look at the USDA has done a lot of data here looking at the different techniques. So freezing,
yes,
dehydrating, cooking, and then of course extrusion.
Yes.
The more heat that's applied to that, the more you've damaged all of the good stuff that you're looking for. When we flew to the United Kingdom and talked to microbiologist Dr. Tim Spector, he said the more diverse one's belly, when they were looking at the longest lived people in the world, the more diverse your belly is, the longer you're going to live, right? Well, when you are at processing techniques like freezing is minimal. So you'll still have all of that good bacteria that's responsible to build your microbiome. But the more that you apply heat to it, the more you're going to lose, the less diverse your microbiome. And well, according to longevity scientists, your pets won't live as long.
No, that's right. This is a really random one, but someone asked it, so I'm going to ask, and I don't know how you feel about this, but are chew toys made out of natural products like wool safe for dogs?
Wow. Gosh. So, this is a good question, and it not just pertaining to wool, right? Now I know here in North America, wool can be dangerous because it can be a blocking hazard, right? So it really would depend on how the manufacturer was to assemble that wool, first and foremost, right? Because your animal's not supposed to get into yarn and so on and so forth. Like cats shouldn't be playing with yarn because it can swallow it. It can be a choking hazard. But I don't know. I'm not an expert in wool toy processing, but I can tell you toys in general. There hasn't been much research out there. It's been almost 15 years since somebody's actually done a study on toys. The last study that was done, it was jaw-dropping to see the phthalates, to see the chemicals it takes to make a lot of these toys, and what classifies a toy as natural. What does that term natural mean? Because that word natural is an open term. In fact, we here have seen some of these companies that are saying that they're using recyclable, natural rubbers and rubbery material to make some of these toys. And I don't know if you know this, Lara, but some of these toys, when heat comes in contact, some people are putting them in dishwashers, leaving them in some, they become toxic. So even though they're natural, they become toxic. So it is a long-winded question. It's interesting you say that because we have a nonprofit called Pause for Change where we do citizen science projects where fellow pet parents will donate, and we're actually doing a massive analysis on toys right now. It's been 15 years since somebody's done a study where we're buying up some of the most popular toys in the world and we're actually having them analyzed. So
Wow.
to answer the wool question, I really wish I was a wool expert. I guess really my questions would be, as a pet parent, is can my dog tear those or my cat tear that in shards? Can they swallow it? Can it be an obstruction? Because yes, maybe potentially organic wool could be safer than other materials, but it would really depend on how it was constructed.
Okay, well, that's really interesting research. So hopefully I'll get the release or the book on that one as well, so that we can talk further about that, because I
We'll
think
send
people will
those
be
results
very
to you.
interested as well. Now, I also have to mention as well, Shuby has been like constantly like back and forth, back and forth. So everyone, that is our lovely dog on the cover there that you have seen parading back and forth. She definitely wanted to be part of this interview. How old is Shuby?
Shubi is, she's almost going to be in her geriatric state. She's almost 10. So she is my forever dog. So, I'm trying to practice and instill everything I preach, and hopefully I can come close to the Australian records that you guys have set for the longest lived dogs in the world.
Good luck with that. I'm going to try and to get my boys on that one as well. So thank you very much, Rodney. Look forward to chatting to you again soon, and seeing more what's to come in the future.
Thanks so much for having me, and here's to your forever dogs.
Yes, thank you.